While we all know the story of Romeo and Juliet, and has been told in many different times in many different ways, through movies we can see this progression and how it has inspired many. First, we're going to go over the formula, okay? So it starts with two people falling in love, okay? And it's forbidden love. They're from opposing sides. They can't be seen. And then generally two characters die who are like the mentor slash best friend of the Romeo or Juliet character. Romeo and Juliet consummate their marriage, and then Juliet fakes her death, which leads to Romeo ending his life, and then Juliet actually dies. Okay, so now we got the basics, we got the formula down. Now we're going to go into different movies, okay? We're starting off with West Side Story, okay? So it's very similar to the original. It's a musical, takes place in the 1960s, and it is between two street gangs. There's the Jets and the Sharks, opposing sides, okay? We got that, check. Next we have love. So the love is between Tony and Maria. Once again, may I repeat, they are on opposing sides, okay? So, what kind of starts the downfall of this movie is when Riff, who's Tony's best friend, and Bernardo, who is Maria's brother, they die during a rumble, and so this causes the downfall. Anita, who is Maria's sister-in-law, tries to tell Tony that Maria will be late to their meetup. But she's harassed by the Jets, so she just tells them she's dead. Forget about her. She's dead. This sends Tony into a spiral, and he goes running around yelling for Chino, who is the person Maria's supposed to marry, begging for him to kill Tony. Like, Tony's begging for Chino to kill him. And then while he's running around, he runs into Maria. And he's like, this must be a dream because I was told she was dead. But she isn't. And then he gets shot by Chino. And then he dies in Maria's arms. At the end, it shows the two sides coming together, carrying Tony's body out of the area, I guess, to the ambulance. And now we go to Private Romeo. And so this one is similar in the fact of it's reenacting Romeo and Juliet. It's basically the same, except it's gay, and it takes place in high school in, I believe, on a military base. Okay, and so they're reading it for class, and it's also happening in real life. It just follows the same lines of Romeo and Juliet. It's just gay. So what makes these two similar to Romeo and Juliet and just similar to each other is that they both take Romeo and Juliet, the story, more literally. And they're very similar to the original, and they add their own little twists while keeping it more close to the original. Okay, so now we're gonna go into these three movies, okay? So we have Warm Bodies to start us out, okay? So it's like Romeo and Juliet in a post-apocalyptic world, okay? There's main characters R and Julie. R is a zombie. He longs for connection. He wants that. He wants to eat that. He literally eats people's brains in order to live their memories, okay? And so for a while, he doesn't know what the point of life is. And he's longing for something, but he doesn't know what. So one day, him and his friends, his zombie friends, they go to the city to go, kill some humans. And while they are about to kill all these humans, R notices Julie. And it was love at first sight, okay? So instead of killing her, he decides to disguise her as a zombie, take her back to his hideout. And there, she's scared out of her mind, okay? It takes her a while to even trust R. And then eventually she's like, I have to go back to the city, I have to go back to my dad, and we have to inform other people about this. Because she's realizing that R is special, and maybe there's a way to cure zombies through R. So R decides to help Julie, and in the process he warms other zombies' hearts and starts them to get feeling emotional and longing for something more. Julie ends up abandoning R at a house that they were staying at, And this sends R into really just depression. He is so sad, the love of his life just abandoned him, okay? And so as he's walking back to his hideout, he runs into his friends, his zombie friends, and they are like, where is she? We have to help save the world because the bonies, which are like skeletal zombies that aren't nice, we don't like them. Bonies are after everybody now, zombies and humans included, when normally they would be only after humans. They do what any zombie would do, and they go and they chase after Julie. They go back to Julie, R runs up to her, and they try and go to convince her dad that zombies can be changed. He doesn't believe this. So instead, Julie and R run away from her dad, and they try to fend off the bonies on their own, and the humans send an army, and it turns into zombies and humans fighting against the bonies together. Every zombie has a chance to become alive again, and once they get that sense of humanity back, they can finally, like, re-enter the world. So it ends with zombies and humans living in harmony. So now we're going to go to With a Kiss I Die. Now this I would like to describe as if Twilight and Romeo and Juliet had a gay child. It's vampires with Romeo and Juliet, and it's gay. Like, it works beautifully, okay? It starts us out with Juliet being depressed from Romeo dying, okay? What ends up happening is when she tries to kill herself again, a vampire comes in and saves her life, and he's known as Father. The whole downfall of the movie begins when Farn gets captured by Father, and this forces Juliet to become a full-fledged vampire. Now, it isn't explained very well on what that means, what that entails. Does she get more powers? We don't know, because then the character named Cousin bites into Farn to try and drain her of her blood, but it turns out that vampires can't drink blood of a sick person. And if they do, they die. Cousin dies from trying to drink a sick person's blood because Farn has leukemia. So now Juliet saves Farn and takes her to see the sunset, and Farn dies in Juliet's arms. And so Juliet decides to drink Farn's blood and kill herself, thus making them live together forever. And now for our last one, we're going to be talking about Romeo and Juliet Killers, okay? This one is more recent, from 2022. Now this is inspired by a true story, and so it takes place in present day. So it follows a dysfunctional teen, who's Tyler. She meets a young adult who's around 23, and his name is Boston. And they fall in love immediately. It's mainly forbidden because of the age gap. And in the beginning, you're meant to believe that, like, okay, her mom really is controlling and that she is, like, just doing what normal teenagers do. Okay, as time goes on, you find out that Tyler's being a little bit more manipulative and unreliable. Tyler decides to introduce Boston slowly to her mother. And slowly her mother falls in love with him and is like an amazing person for Tyler to be around. So, because of his father moving away, she decides to invite Boston to stay with them in their gated community. Eventually, it starts to get to a point where her mother is suspicious of Boston and threatens to kick him out on multiple occasions. Eventually, it gets to a point of where he is going to be charged with statutory rape, and Tyler puts in his brain that if he gets charged with that, he would be in prison for 20 years. And so this draws to the conclusion of either you go to jail for 20 years or we kill my mom. And we all know what option they chose. They chose to kill her mom, yeah. And then the cops are after them. So they have to run, and they go to a motel where they decide to kill themselves with rat poisoning and cereal. Not the best way, but okay, I see how it is. But it fails. And the police arrest them. She talks to Boston and gets him to confess to doing everything. And that she had nothing to do with it. She never killed her mom. it turns out she was lying to him. If he got charged with statutory rape, he would have been only put on probation. And this shows that Tyler is manipulative, okay? She cries to her mom for sympathy and in hopes to get what she wants out of her mother. Lies to her mom to let Boston live with them. Lies to Boston murder is the only way out. And Boston expresses at multiple points throughout the movie that he's uncomfortable with certain situations, and she just talks him out of it and talks him into doing what she wants. And she also talks Boston into taking the blame, using words like, "You're the only one for me," and "I would do anything for us to be together." She is the textbook definition of unreliable narrator. Well, how do all three of these movies tie back to the original story? Well, they all take basic elements from the original story and put them in different situations. Put the characters in different situations, see what they would do at certain points. And so as time goes on, we get more detached from the original story, but it only inspires us further to make content that is enjoyable. Thank you for your time today.